For the Canon G7X train that everyone's riding, get off. Get off of it. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Taylor Lloyd. I'm your new tech bestie, and today we're talking about cameras for content creators. I'm gonna tell you all about all the cameras that I think would be great for y'all, but I have some disclaimers. Number one, I am not a professional. I'm not a photographer, cinematographer, videographer, none of that. If you are, I love that for you, but please don't come in here trying to tussle in the comments, okay? It's just vibes over here. I'm just talking to my content creator friends who are looking to upgrade their equipment. Number two, these are not full-on reviews on each camera. There's just no way I could do that in one video and it not be like 2 hours long, and I don't have the patience to film it, and I'm sure you don't have the patience to watch it. So these are just like overviews of the camera that I think would be really good for content creators, and we're kind of going in order from least expensive to most expensive that I personally own. I can only speak to cameras that I own. If I don't mention one that you like, that doesn't mean that it's bad. That just means I don't own it to tell you about it. Other than that, let's get into it. We're gonna start with camera number one, which is the Canon V10 Powershot. Great little camera. I'm gonna go over the specs because I have them on my iPad over here. So if you see me looking over here, I'm just looking at my notes to make sure I get this right. So we're gonna go through the main things. Price. The price is around $400 for this little guy. This is not full frame. It has a 1-inch sensor. As far as megapixel goes, it is 20.9 megapixels, and I think it's 15.2 effective megapixels. Video capabilities, it shoots 4K in 24 and 30 frames per second, and then full HD, which is 1080p in 60, 30, 24, 50. So it does shoot 4K, okay? And it does shoot 60 frames, but 60 frames is not in 4K, it is in 1080. And then any special features that are like standout features, obviously the camera looks like this. The screen flips up, you can see yourself in the screen. This screen is touchscreen also, so that's a nice little feature. I mean, things are really small on this, so it's kind of hard to like navigate. 2 mics at the top that pick up sound. The audio is not bad. It does come with these like little mic covers, but when you put them on, they cover the screen. I don't know who worked on that feature, but that does happen. Center right here, this is the record. You press it, it starts recording. Takes a micro SD, that's what it takes in here. It does have a built-in stand. This little stand like folds out, you can see, and you can set it on different devices like tables or, you know, desks or whatever, and film yourself that way. I think the lens on here is like 20 millimeters, and it goes down to f.28. Obviously the lens you get is the lens you get. There's no adjusting or changing this. You can shoot both vertical and horizontal with this, so that's nice. And you can take pictures with this camera. It's not a photo camera necessarily, meaning like it's meant for photos, but you can snap photos. So if you are vlogging and you see like a worthy thumbnail and you want to take it, you can do that with this camera too. All in all, for $400, I think this is not bad value. If I had to pick a con or a gripe, it's stabilization. Now, obviously this is $400, so would you expect a camera for that price to have stabilization built into it? No, but I think it could be improved. It does have digital stabilization in it, but you guys, when you turn it in, it zooms in so much. Please, let's just work on building in or changing the fact that digital stabilization crops in 3 lenses. Camera number 2. This is my boo. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. You've probably seen this camera all over the internet. Listen, I am a big advocate of this camera. I lost my first one and repurchased it. That's how much I love it. Specs. Let's get into the specs here. For the camera by itself, it comes out to around $600. This is also not a full frame camera, but it does have a 1-inch CMOS sensor. It's beautiful. Megapixels 9.4, and then as far as video capabilities, it shoots in 4K horizontal. Okay, horizontal, hear me out. It does not shoot in 4K vertical, it shoots in 3K vertical. So just letting you know that. It does also shoot in slow-mo, and it does do time-lapse as well. Also has a low light mode on it, which is really nice if you like vlog and you're like in a dark area. Then for cool features, there's lots of them. Number one being this rotating screen, right? Like this is the big game changer. This is the selling point. It's like, oh, I can shoot horizontal and then I can just shoot vertical. Boom. Not at the same time. You got to stop recording to re-record, but you can shoot both with one camera. The camera is really crisp and clear. It does like face auto tracking. You can shoot in D-Log, which is similar to C-Log and S-Log. Log footage is like really flat muted footage that you can come back and then color grade, I would say, to make it look more maybe cinematic, or maybe you just have an idea of how you want your footage to look. This also takes the little micro or the mini or whatever, the tiny little SD card. You pop it in the side, you record with this here, and you have the little joystick. This is on a 3-axis gimbal, so the footage is buttery smooth, like stupid. It's really smooth. So another really great grabbing on the go vlogging camera. Other than that, the battery on this is really good. This also comes with the creator combo, which is what I got this time. That kit is like close to $800, but it does come with a lot of accessories that I feel like could make that value worth it. Depends on what you want and what you like. Overview of the camera, really great. I think this will be really great for people who vlog travel. You want something small, you're a shy vlogger, you're like, ooh, I don't want to be taking no camera setup outside moving around, but I do want to get good footage. I feel like this is a really good option. Up next, Lord have mercy, Jesus. Okay, up next is the Canon R50. Now, if you know me, you know how I feel about the R50. Okay, so as far as specs go, this camera body alone is $679, so I like to round up. The camera body alone is around $700, or it was the last time I checked. This is not a full frame. This is a crop sensor camera. Megapixels, 24.2. Video capabilities, this shoots in 4K, 24 and 30 frames per second, and then full HD in 60 frames per second. A great little camera. It's really great quality. It's super light, so I feel like this is perfect for vlogging if you want a camera body, because look how tiny it is. It does have a 3-inch flip out screen, which is nice. It's big, it's touchscreen, you can see everything that you're doing. The other reason I love this camera is because it's really good at photos. It has a built-in flash, y'all. For the Canon G7X train that everyone's riding, get off. Get off of it. I know this camera is a little bit bigger because you can actually take off the lens and put different lenses on, which is a pro, because that means if you own any RF lenses, all of them work. But the quality of this over the Canon G7X is like night and day, and I really need more people to know about the Canon R50. And the autofocus is extremely good on this camera. It has this up close showcase mode, I don't know what it's called, but it basically allows you to show stuff to the camera, and it autofocuses so incredibly fast. I think this would be such a big win for any like creators who are demoing or showing stuff, like beauty creators, for instance, where they're like showing their products to the camera, so on and so forth. I have the 10 to 18 millimeter lens on it, which makes this a super wide shot, which is perfect for vlogging. But like I said, you can put any lens you want on it. I think this lens is somewhere between $300 and $400, so altogether it's about $1,000 setup. But keep in mind, like, this takes really great photos, this does really great video, you can change the lenses, so even though you're investing more money, you're getting more for your money. I don't really have any gripes. You can also hook up a mic to it. You can also do HDMI, so you can hook it up to a monitor. The battery life is pretty standard. This might be the only camera body that I don't have any complaints with. I love this camera. Yeah, no issues. Honorary mention, I'm just gonna mention it, I don't own it, but the Sony comparison to the Canon R50 would be the Sony ZV-E10. From what I've seen on paper, the specs are very close and similar, but if you are in the Sony ecosystem and you just favor Sony cameras and you want something comparable, the Sony ZV-E10 is what I would think is comparable. I'm looking at the body prices too, and they're literally like, it looks like they're mates. So do with that what you will, but just honorary mention, Sony ZV-E10 is probably the closest thing to the Canon R50. All right, moving on. Hello friends, Editing Taylor popping in here. As you can see, the video that you're watching is being edited back there. But I filmed this video prior to going to Sony Camp. So I went to Sony Camp a couple weeks ago where they announced the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. So I just did an honorary mention on the Sony ZV-E10 saying that it is basically very compatible to my Canon R50. The ZV-E10 Mark II is a bit of an upgrade. However, it is more expensive than the base ZV-E10. The Mark II is about $1,000 versus the ZV-E10 being like $600 or $700. I can't say if it's worth upgrading if you already have the ZV-E10. You'd have to test out the cameras and see if it's worth the extra money to you, I think the ZV-E10 Mark II is great for somebody who's coming from a phone, looking to upgrade into a camera. They have about a $1,000 budget and they want something that's perfect for vlogging. Because when I got to play around with the ZV-E10 Mark II, I felt like it was really lightweight, which is something I always look for in vlogging cameras. I need it to be lightweight. I'm carrying it around all the time, even if I have it on a little tripod. It can't be no brick, okay? And this camera is super lightweight. The battery life is really good on the camera. It takes really nice photos, and I'm all for a hybrid. So when I say hybrid in this video and I mention it, I mean something that's really good at photos and something that's good at video. So no matter where you are, you have the option of doing both well. I feel like for this to be such a compact camera, it does photos really well. Also does video really well. This camera also shoots 4K 60 frames, which a lot of the smaller compact cameras don't. It gets some bonus points for me. It has a 3-inch flip out screen. It comes in black and white. And then it comes with a kit lens that's 16 to 55 millimeters. I want to say this because I also didn't say this in the video. If you are looking to get a vlogging camera that is not full frame, please get a wide lens. So I'm talking all the way back to 10 millimeters up to 16. If you're gonna be holding the camera in front of your face and it is not a full frame camera, you're gonna want a 10 to 16 millimeter lens. I think I used the 10 to 20 millimeter lens when I was at camp. They let you rent lenses. The 10 millimeters on that camera is great. So yeah, okay, back to the video and on to the next camera. Next up is the R8. This is my tried and true. Now this is the camera I use for a lot of my vertical content. You see how I like automatically put it vertically? I use this for majority of my vertical content. So if you follow me on Instagram, you follow me on TikTok, and you're wondering what camera I shoot with, 9 times out of 10, it is the R8. This is a really good in-between camera. I think this does really well with photos and videos. Spec-wise, let's go through it. This is $1,400 for the body, so not including the lens. Just the body on its own is $1,400. So we're stepping up in price a little bit, right? But stepping up a price does come with things because this is a full frame camera. What I'm shooting on right now is a full frame camera, 24.2 megapixels. As far as video capabilities go, this shoots in 4K, which is really oversampled 6K compressed into 4K footage. What does that mean? It means it's really sharp footage. It's really clean, okay? It's really crisp, but it shoots 60 frames, 30 frames, 24 and 4K, and then full HD all the way up to like 180 frames per second, which is slow motion. Basically, it also does time lapse. As far as the build of this camera, still great for vlogging. If you ask me, this is still a good vlogging camera. Yes, this is a little bit heavier, but since it's full frame, I feel like it's definitely worth using as a vlogger, especially if you like a more aesthetically cinematic type of vlog. I feel like this is a really great camera for it. It's not uncomfortable to hold in my hand at all, especially depending on the lens. This is the 35 millimeter lens that I have on it, but usually when I vlog, honestly, I put the 16 on it there. And you can see it's like much lighter. The 16 millimeter is much lighter. 16 millimeter lens is about $300-ish. So combined with the body and the lens, this setup in particular is around $1,700. But again, with that comes extra. This also shoots in log, C-Log. Okay, so you know how the DJI shot in D-Log. This shoots in C-Log, so you will get that flat footage if you want to come back and color grade later. You can do it with this camera. Great camera. I feel like this would be the perfect camera if it had IBIS. It doesn't have it. It does have digital live stabilization, but like I said before, it crops in. So you're gonna lose some of that wide angle lensness when you crop in and turn on digital stabilization. So that's my only gripe. I mean, I knew this didn't have IBIS when I bought it, so can I really complain about it? No. But will I? Yes. The other thing is sometimes the autofocus acts wonky. It's really good 95% of the time, but that other 5%, I'm like, I'm trying to chase the little icon to chase me down and lock into my eyes. I'm like, what are we doing here? What's the problem? Are you tired today? But other than that, really good. Again, 3-inch flip out screen so you can see everything you're doing. It's touch screen. It does not have a built-in flash, does have a hot shoe on top, does have photo and video mode. The photos this camera takes, phenomenal. This video, also phenomenal. Camera, and also this and the R50 have the same size battery, so I can swap them around, which is nice. Next on the list, the Sony ZV-E1. Now, I know, because I've been talking about Canons pretty much this whole time, so you're like, Taylor or Sony, but yes, you know, listen, I don't have no type. I like what works, I like what's good. So let's get into the specs on this bad boy. The body alone Now don't fight me. The body alone is $2,200. But we're gonna talk about all the features that it has that makes it, you know, worth the money. I have currently the 14mm lens, which is super wide with 1.8 f-stop, which means the background is super blurry. Right now in this video, the f-stop is on 1.8. So you see that blur? That's what this lens has. This lens, however, I believe is around $1,500. So the body's $22, the lens is like $15, which makes this setup here around $3,700. This is no rush. I just want to share this with you because it is a really nice camera, and I feel like this is really great for shooting content no matter what you're shooting. If you're shooting sit down content like this, or you know, vertical content, it's gonna do it. Specs. This, I told y'all the price. This is a full frame camera, obviously, for the price. Duh. This does have IBIS. There are also lenses that stabilize footage. So what I forgot to mention about my Canon cameras is, like, even though they don't have IBIS, they do have stabilized lenses on them, and that does help. But a camera with IBIS is gonna be nice for anybody who is moving around, getting action shots, wants really smooth still footage. Megapixels, 12.1. Video capabilities, this shoots 4K all the way up to 120 frames per second, which is slow motion. You can also shoot in S-Log with this, so just like C-Log and D-Log, you can shoot in S-Log with this. This does have cinema vlog mode where it kind of like turns it into, it looks like a movie. It's kind of cool. They have really cool colors and LUTs with Sony cameras that you really don't get out of Canon. I like that for vlogs in particular because I do a little bit of color grading, and I really just like the natural color out of the Sony cameras. Now, something that I learned about Sony ZV line, I sat down and had a conversation with the product developer. I want to say he was the developer of the ZV line, and we just kikied. We talked about cameras. He told me a bunch of features, but he also told me that the ZV line was created with creators in mind. Like, it was created for creators. For instance, this camera has a lot of AI features, like you can do tracking, face tracking, body tracking, which is really nice. The mic on this camera also is able to pull audio from wherever you are. It's like, if I'm talking to the camera like this, it pulls the audio from the front. If I flip around and talk like this, it pulls the audio from the back. Now, there are mics that you can add onto your cameras that do that, but the built-in mics don't do that, and I feel like that's something that comes in handy when you're creating content, specifically like vlogging and you flipping your camera back and forth. You just want your audio to be consistent. I feel like this does a really good job at that. Of course, it has the flip-out screen. It's touch screen. You can see everything you're doing. You can change the lenses on this camera as well. The other thing about Sony that's nice is you have access to third-party lenses, where in this new Canon's RF, you do not. So that is something to consider too. On top of this camera having IBIS, it has dynamic active mode, which is the closest thing I've seen to a camera looking like it's on a gimbal without being on a gimbal. My only issue with this is the same issue a lot of people have, and that is that it overheats. It overheats. I've used it before, and it ran hot on me and cut off. It doesn't happen all the time by any means. There's actually a setting you could turn on to help with that, and I turned on the setting and it hasn't happened since, but I can't get on here and say like, oh, people are saying that. I've never had that problem. I have had that problem. It did overheat on me. My Canons have never yet, not yet. So yeah, this is actually a loaner from Sony themselves. They sent it over, but I'm considering buying this. You know, once I get more consistent on this platform, I will reward myself with this camera specifically for vlogging, because I think this is a beautiful vlogging camera. Last camera I'm gonna mention is the camera I'm filming with, and I'm only mentioning it as like an honorary mention, not because I think as a content creator you would need this. I am filming currently with the R6 Mark II. I bought this camera to film videos like this. However, I feel like it's not, you could use the R8 and get video and quality very close to this. I bought the R6 because I love cameras, and like, it's just my happy place, and I really wanted a big body camera that I could use, stay mounted, and then have a B-roll camera, which is my R8, but it's not a necessity. Anyways, I'll go through the specs on this camera because I know someone will say like, well, what did you film the video with if you're showing all those other ones? I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? But don't judge me, don't judge me. Let's go. Canon R6 Mark II. The price is $2,500 for the body alone. Now, I traded in my Canon RP towards the body, so I did not pay that much. technically, but but it is $2,500 for the body. The lens that I have on it right now is my RF 24mm 1.8. I use that shit on everything. I use this lens all the time. I use it for my short form. I use it a lot for my long form. It's just a really great standard lens. This lens was somewhere between $500 and $600. I'm gonna round up and say $600. So together the setup over there is $3,100. I have a filter on my camera, black mist. There it is. I have a black mist filter also on my camera. This is a full frame camera. It does have IBIS on it, but you know what? I have to be honest. This camera, even though it's the most expensive camera, it is the camera that maybe frustrates me the most. And I bought it with intentions of using it a certain way, and so it's not a big deal for the way I use it, but it has this thing called wobbly corners. And if you have watched any videos about Canon R6 Mark II, everyone's gonna mention it. And if you are taking this, let's just say you're vlogging with it, which I don't know why you would. It's a big beach, okay? It's not a vlogging camera. I'm not gonna vlog with it. But if you are and you have like a 16mm lens, the cameras, like, they warp. And it's not like a little warp. It's a lot of warp. You can see it, and it's just like kind of obnoxious and a little frustrating, because to me, for a camera to be this expensive, that seems like a troubling issue. Like, it just, I know I personally am not going to be affected by it because I'm not using it with the 16mm often moving around, but I just find that frustrating. And that's my biggest It's like, why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? Other than that, megapixels 24.2, video capabilities same as my R8 practically. So that's what I mean by, like, if you like the look of this, the R8 is going to give you a very similar look. That's why I use that as a B cam and this as an A cam. The special feature that I bought this camera was for the IBIS. And when I don't have a wide lens on it, the IBIS is perfect. It's great. Like I said, I usually use my 24 if I'm getting B-roll or like close-ups on products. I use my 50, my 85, no problems with any warping. So it's very usable. That's just a personal little like ick that I have with the camera because of how much it costs. But overall, still really great. I really don't have any complaints outside of that. I would tell you about the battery life, but I don't know, because I use a dummy battery, which is a battery you can plug into your camera and plug into your wall. Because I use it in this setup all the time, I just didn't feel like buying multiple batteries for it. I'm like, I don't really move it. So I have one standard battery and this dummy battery that's been doing the Lord's work. Yeah, it's a great camera. Would I recommend you buy it over all the other ones as a content creator if you're looking to invest in one camera? No. I feel like this is just something that I wanted for myself. It's been my dream camera, and so that's why I got it. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Those are all my content creator suggestions, or all the cameras I own as a content creator, and my like quick little reviews on them. Any cameras you want full on reviews on, I would be happy to do that. Just leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want and what you need, and I'll try to get that over to you. Any questions you guys have, leave them down below as well. Hopefully this video has helped you make a decision, an educated decision, because we like to make good educated decisions over here. And I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.